Okay, so I'm just gonna make a quick video. Now, this video is with regards to the form, okay? So in the form, you know, we have our number 1, 2, 3, 4, so 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna do number 6, okay? Now, number 6, like the other parts of the form, have two sides to it, okay? So, for example, if I did number 2, for example, I start here. So you notice that I hit on this side, and then that will be the first half of number 2. And then I will start here now, boom, 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 and that will be the second half of number 2, so on and so forth, so that we get both sides complete. So the one I'm going to do right now is number 6. So I want you to understand first and foremost, before anything, is the meaning and understanding of the word form, okay? So form is like structure, okay? And structure, we can go back to when we were kids, before we knew how to even talk, we were learning the alphabet, okay? So you have A, B, C, D, and all the way to Z. Now, the alphabet itself is only part and parcel. That's the form of what our vocabulary ultimately comes from or is derived from. So if you look at the way when you were learning how to write the letters, the characters, you know, you would go to school and they would have a dotted A, a dotted B, or dashed C, dashed D, so on and so forth. And those were guides. That was the form that they wanted you to follow, so that when you wrote, you were writing within those dashed lines, within the form, within the structure. And that's exactly the same thing, only manifested physically when it comes to any form. We have several forms in Wing Chun, but in the wooden dummy, this is one form of our expression for fighting. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that when people look at forms, or even katas, for example, in karate, other skeptics or people who are ignorant of the art or fighting in general will look at it and go, well, no one's going to fight like this. And you're absolutely right. It's just like you're never going to speak like the alphabet. Okay, you're not going to say absukibet and every word is just A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No, you're going to extrapolate from the form the letter C, for example, the letter A, for example, the letter T, for example, and you're going to formulate a word from that alphabet, from that form. And now I have a word that I can now take and put into a sentence of many other words, and so on and so forth. And that's how we communicate. That's how we convey information, like I'm explaining to you right now. And the same thing, exactly the same thing is true when it comes to any form. You can't look at it and say, well, no one's gonna do all of that in the first time fighting somebody. You're absolutely right. No one should be doing all of that. So let me, so I don't belabor the point anymore. I believe you guys get the point. So for example, in number 6, you know, we have what's called a Quan Sao, okay? So Quan, 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 and then on the fourth one, whoa. And now I'm going to step, pull, so this is lap, da, hit, da again, hit, go down in my axes, so I'm gonna change a level, and boom, I hit on the rib cage, and notice that I cover just in case this person wants to back fist me or back elbow me. Then I come in and I gung sao, hun, da, fum, jut, or fuk, and tuck sao. So that's a lot of sows, that's a lot of things, right? So when you're learning this thing, remember, just like anything else, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, when you were young, you're just learning how to refine the form. You're trying to learn the actual structure of how you should implement, what it is that you're learning. But each and every one of these can be applied, and should be, and most likely is being applied individually. So I'm not going to fight somebody and do this for the sake of doing it because it's in the form. So a perfect example of using a Kwan Sao is, and I love to teach it offensively and defensively. So let's just say a person threw a 1-2. So, or 2-1, right? So here I go, whoa, maybe I use this one to deflect, and this one is done passively, okay? So it's defensively. But then he tries to come in with the other one, and I offensively attack it, okay? So how you use it is how your teacher should be teaching you, so that you're not just doing a bunch of forms willy-nilly and not understanding the structure behind it. So you got whoa, 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 and then I go into this one. Here's my offensive one. I go into this one, and I'm gonna get out into a position. So I pivot into a position, and I lop. Okay, so basically I'm grabbing or pulling, and at the same time, like two ships passing each other, I'm going to pull, bam, and hit. This is under his neck. Oh, I'm sorry, under his chin, in his neck. And then again, hopefully, bam, in the larynx, and then I go down, boom, and again I cover and I hit his rib cage, and here's my Gung Sao. And a Gung Sao, you notice I'm outside of that, and this is a defense and attack. And then Hun Sao just helps me understand my stickiness, like how I stick to a person, okay, which will probably be derived off of the snake hand, okay? So if you break that down in that way, you would see the myriad of applications that can be done just within this one section of the form. So now, depending on what lineage you're from, you'll see different iterations of that. So the way I like to look at that is, here's your dot, 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 capital A, but here's also your dot, 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 lowercase a. And there is a time to use a lowercase, and there's a time to use an uppercase. And the way I like to denote those things are by passive aggressive, hard or soft. And so I see a lot of the times, and I'm not going to say what's right or wrong because I'm not in those systems, but in the Wing Chun science system, I'm very heavy on, if you're going to fight somebody, it's going to be combat, well then you might as well be combative. Now of course you have to do it judiciously, smartly, wisely, and understanding that everything that you do has a purpose, okay? You have to have a purpose. So when I go in here, whoa, whoa, I've seen some people do this. So watch this. Go in, come out, go in, come out, go in, come out. Now I'm sure there's a rhyme and reason and a method for why they would teach to go in and go out, go in and go out, go in. But remember, how you train is how it ultimately comes out. And if you learn how to fight always with the passive aggressive, soft, hard, you're going to end up fighting that way, okay? Now, it might work for you, and there are other little things that you would need to do to patch all those cracks, but the way that I was taught and the way I definitely teach it is always a constant forwardness. And because I know this is just a form and that this dummy, I'm not breaking this, okay? So like I can bend this, I could try to bend it, I'm not breaking this. It's created to take my impact. And with that said, there is a structure here that only allows me a little buffer room. So when I'm going here, I want to go forward, I want to go forward, I want to go more forward. And as I crunch this guy up, I suffocate him, boom, I get even further. So I step here into position and I pop, and I go down, boom, and pow, whoa, pow, boom, boom. So when I'm doing it always with the mindset that every ounce, every inch, every position, every second of this fight, the real fight, I must try to break and hurt this person, because breaking and hurting is ultimately what shuts down the brain and then allows for a larger capacity for me to execute exactly what I'm trying to do. And that's going to be true with any combat sport, but fight, forget about sport, any combat fighting in general. And this is how I teach it, and this is how it's implemented. Again, I'm only teaching what I just showed you right now is only a piece of one extrapolation of the form in totality. But it is an example of how people who are ignorant, and ignorant just means you just didn't know, but now you know, so you'll no longer be ignorant. But people who are ignorant, people who are just plain and simply wrong, people who are computer combative, you know, like to write a lot of nonsense. But at the end of the day, what I teach in the structure of the Wing Chun science form that I teach, this was derived off of the original form, but somewhere along the line, sometimes things get watered down. Some people use this just for therapy, medicinal purposes of just easing and soothing their mind. And you can very well do this nice and soft. And actually, I recommend that you do everything soft, and that's more of that fluidity. And then you can do it fast, and you can do it slow, you can do it hard, and you start varying. But at the end of the day, if you're going to actually apply anything, whether it's in the wooden dummy form or any form for that matter, if you're going to actually apply it like in real combat, your mindset has to be to hurt, to break, to maim, to destroy, or else do not get into any fight if you're not thinking about those things. All right, so I'm hoping I will break down more of the wooden dummy, but I'm hoping that this just helps squelch some of what some people might be thinking. And of course, the biggest haters, to be honest with you, are not even the people who are in combat fighting in general, although there's that handful. It's typically within the Wing Chun community itself. So you get more hate out of the Wing Chun community because everybody has a different lineage and everybody has a different methodology, a different way, and a different reason for executing what they execute and how. Like I said, going in or going boom, there's, I'm sure, a rhyme or reason for it, but in our art, I definitely, everything is combative to me, and this is my rhyme and reason. Any questions, reach out to me. Peace.